Yeah, no. So that's why I was just watching this loyalty scheme, and apparently on this loyalty card scheme, our data gets sold for. I think someone said they're making like hundreds and hundreds of thousands of pounds on your data. So the store cards want you to register with them because your data is worth money, and we know that our data is the new commodity.
Yeah, do you get anything back from that, from your data being sold? No. Again,
No.
There's a lot of people in this country,
Yeah.
they love to moan about stuff, but they won't do anything about it. So that's what I was saying. Hats off to you for actually standing up and doing something about it.
I just think it's wrong. So, and obviously there were people that in the shop that look at you, because obviously when you go into these supermarkets and you haven't got a store card and you want the price that's should be for everyone, and they like, well, just get a store card. What's the big deal? Well, I shouldn't be coerced and blackmailed to exchange my private information for you to sell my data and clearly make hundreds of well, I think someone said they can make up to like £300,000 they've made in one of the, I think Sainsbury's here, to give me a couple of pounds off. That's just the crazy part. They're making that much money to give you that little bit of money off.
Well, so, think about the data they're pulling off these cards, right? So they know exactly what you buy and how much, how regularly you buy it. So they know your habits and your trends. So they can literally target stuff directly to you and manipulate you into buying more and more stuff.
Yes. Yeah. And they are, I mean, other people have said just put the store card in a false name, but I'm doing this because I'm trying to make a stand against feeling that you have to give your data full stop. I shouldn't have to walk into a shop and give them my private information to be able to get a discount. So this is why I'm doing it. So I've got this, I did write a letter, an email and everything, sent it, and I think they're ignoring me even though they've acknowledged the receipt of it. 24 hours later, someone will get in touch with you. I think I'm 6 weeks down the line, so now I'm going for the next step. So that's my little bit going on at the moment, but that's why I'm just watching the dark truth of loyalty schemes. So if anyone wants to watch Tom Hayden on YouTube, yep.
It is indicative of the whole of this society, really, that we're so cowed, we're so dumbed down and sort of softened, so that we don't complain about anything, we don't stand up to anything, we just go, okay, I suppose that's what we have to do now. And I hate doing it, it's horrible, but what can you do?
Yeah. And I just don't want to do, from now on we've got to go, I don't want to do that, so I'm not going to do that, and I'm going to make a stand.
Yeah, we have to learn to grow up, because and I think it started at school, really, because they stopped us from dealing with things by ourselves, right? They said, oh no, if the bully comes, no, don't fight the bully or stand up to him, go and run and get the teacher and hide behind the teacher's legs while the teacher deals with it for you.
And they don't deal with it. I worked in a school, they do not deal with it. No, I worked in a school, they do not deal with it. Yep, absolutely. And in fact,
the bully carries on doing what he's doing, and you end up ill-equipped to deal with things in your life, and that's it. You end up with a whole load of adults who don't know how to stand up to things.
When and I admire everyone that has stood up for their children. Now, when my son was at school, I mean, he's in primary school, he's nearly 15, so we're going back to quite a few years back. I think he was 10, maybe. He was not a bully, but he was into football, very, very sporty, very strong boy. He was always very physically active. And this big boy, a year above him, actually picked on him, and he was really being, he's not one of the nice kids, but he came across my son, who was a bit smaller than him, and my son ended up putting him in his place in such a way that the boy had to be taken to a hospital. Now, admittedly, he saw red, but this boy really pushed the boundaries with him and kicked his ball, because obviously my son's very passionate about his ball, and kicked his ball into someone else's garden. He couldn't get it, so he was very angry that someone done that to him. And they stopped him. My son was the what they call it, sports leader, because he was so good at sports. He was the sports leader, and they took that away from him. And so I went in and I said, hold on a minute, was he being sports leader at the time? They said no. I said, so how is this an equal punishment? I said, you are taking something that keeps him going, he's really good at, and you're trying to punish him for standing up for himself. When someone took something of his, she goes, yeah, but I said, no. I said, I'm sorry. And I actually fought for him. I said, fair enough, he needs to be, maybe he took it a bit too far. But, the boy came up against the wrong kid. He put him in his place. And he did both learn a lesson here. Now, what is the other boy going to be punished? No. So then why should he be having all that taken away from him that he's really good at for... Anyway, they dropped everything because they knew that there was someone standing up for what was right. So, yeah, I admire people that stand up for what, don't let the school deal with your kids being bullied, because believe me, they do not.
Well, you can see this is how they get rid of the alpha male. They kill them in school, they punish
well,
them.
Have you heard the latest that I think this has started in South Africa, that now they are having in a primary school gender swap days?
Oh,
so
I
you
did see that.
It's like, here we go. So coming to a school near you guys, gender swap days. Yeah. Anyway, we're going to get into this. Thank you, everyone. Did you want to say something? Sorry, carry on.
Oh no, it was just I was going to say about my son when he first went to school back in his country, and he came up to me and said, "Dad, why are the boys acting like girls?" So it was already happening back in 2010.
Wow, he knew. Yeah. It's very, very true. They know, don't they? Right, so let's have a look. We are currently live, I imagine. I hope everyone's on. Good evening. It's Friday the 8th of March, and you're in a beautiful hot country,
which you've
drinking coconut, aren't you? Coconut water. Barbados, aren't you?
Yeah.
You in Barbados?
No, St. Lucia.
Where are you? St. Lucia, that's right. I knew it was one of them. I'm just jealous. I'm just jealous, to be honest. And we're here because Dave has done a very interesting video, and obviously it's something that I would absolutely love to discuss with you, which is based on Dave for Leader. I like Dave for Leader. Do we need governments? And so we've got here, you're asking the questions, do we actually need government? And you attempt to show that no matter which government is elected, selected, they will simply feast on taxpayer money while they play the pantomime, as we know, as Shakespeare said, that they operate the levels of power. They perform no true functions of government aimed at benefiting the people of these lands, but enact the genocidal policies of unelected, am I allowed to say that word, Nazis heading up international non-governmental organisations. So it is the only explanation for their preference for interfering in the affairs of other nations over helping the people of Great Britain. So government is unnecessary. Can we do better? And so I'm going to let you explain the reasoning behind your video?
Well, as you said, it's part of my idea of becoming leader of the country, right? Now, to be honest, I don't obviously expect to become leader. I really want people just to see that there's an alternative to this idea of government, right? We were born into this system, right? We arrived here, and okay, this is the way it works. Then is it? So we've accepted the world as as it was presented to us, as Truman's, it says in the Truman Show. We accepted that world, and we've just assumed that it's the right and only way to be. But it isn't. It literally isn't, the only way we can live. We've just been propagandized into believing, that we cannot do without government. Now, a good example of what I mean, that we don't need government. There's a lot of people who would look at the roads, for instance, and say, well, we absolutely need all this regulation on the road, otherwise it was going to be chaos. Yeah, we need government to make, crack down on people, make sure everyone does the right thing. Well, right now I'm in a country that essentially doesn't have rules on the road. Yes, they follow the highway code and that sort of thing, but there aren't police patrolling the streets, right? There are no signs. There are no parking restrictions, right? You can park wherever you like, as long as you're not being a dick about it or anything. You can park wherever you like. Yeah. The police don't even look at you unless you've done something or something happens. They drive past you. You don't get that same feeling that when you see them, like, you don't get that because they're not interested in you, right? There are less accidents here than there are in the UK. I mean, even when you adjust the numbers and everything, there are less accidents here, but there are no rules. Yeah. So we don't need all these rules. If people aren't not breaking the rules because they they only fear punishment. They're not breaking rules because they don't want to break the rules. Nobody wants to drive unsafely. Yes, you get the few idiots, right? You get a few idiots anywhere, no matter where you are. But people want to leave somewhere and arrive there safely. So they're not keeping to the rules because they fear punishment. They're keeping the rules because that's what you do. Yeah. You go to a country like India and look at one of their sort of traffic junctions. It looks like chaos to the Western mind, but nobody gets hurt. Everyone gets through there a lot quicker, right? It turns out that the more regulation you put, the more dangerous it is. And I use the example of I think it was Coventry, where they removed traffic lights from an accident black spot, which just to see what would happen. And what happened was there were less accidents. People got through the junction a lot quicker, and there was less stress or anything. Right? It was, but no, they put the traffic lights back in anyway.
I remember that. I've often seen exactly what you're saying with the traffic lights. In fact, when they remove the lights, traffic flows better, and people tend to be more aware because they're not dependent as such, and they're not, waiting in anticipation. They're more alert and aware, and they're able to grow up and make, better decisions.
Yeah, because guess what? We have natural abilities to navigate. Yeah, we don't need rules to be imposed upon us by somebody. Just so no, but if you step back from that, just the whole idea of the rules and stuff, the rules don't apply to us anyway. Yeah, It turns out they've tricked us into believing that we're acting in commerce on the roads. So now they can regulate us because they have no power over us as sovereign beings. But if we agree that we're acting in commerce, well, now they can regulate us. And that's what they've done. They've just tricked us into believing we're we're acting in commerce, and now, you know, we have to follow their rules. But it's not true. The whole thing's a sham. Now, I'm talking about getting rid of government, but I don't talk about it in a kind of pie in the sky type way, you know, that, oh, we can have a utopia, right? And, you know, have this idea that's almost like a science fiction thing. No, I talk about things that are already happening in this world right now, right? That, you know, if we could just adopt them, we don't need government. Again, one example is what was happening in Libya before, you know, the West decided to destroy it, right? But Gaddafi, who was a leader, he was a military leader, but he was a leader, and he, an example of that was the fact that he said he would house everybody in Libya before he himself would be housed. So he lived in a tent until the very last Libyan was housed. Yeah. So yeah, there's a whole list of things that he was doing for the people, right, that had to be stopped, because if the mass of people realized, you know, what was happening in Libya, we'd start asking questions. Hang on, why aren't we getting a share of the oil from the North Sea? You know, why is it we don't get a lump sum payment when we get married? How come, you know, we're paying for this, that, and the other? Well, how come petrol is so expensive? And so on and so on and so on. So literally,
absolutely
they had
right.
to take him out. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's an example that Gaddafi didn't have a government. He was a benevolent dictator. Yeah. The West just focused on the dictator part, because that's what I thought he was. Not having looked at what he was doing, you know, the propaganda had worked on me, and I believed he was a dictator until they started attacking him, and I started looking into it, and it's like, well, hang on a minute, I'd love to live in that dictatorship, you know. So
yeah,
I'm saying that the models for another way of life are all around us, but there's no attention drawn to them. Like the Amish is another good example, right? The Amish live in a way, they live in their own separate community, and everyone in that community helps each other out, right? So if somebody needs a house built, then the whole community get together and build that person a house. Nobody needs to get paid, because I often get asked by builders who say, well, if I build a house, well, how do I get paid? Well, what if you didn't build the house? What if everybody built the house? Well, you know, why should you get paid if everyone else is building it with you?
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm just saying that there is a different way to live, and it just takes people to step back and look at their lives objectively, right? Nobody needs to pay to live. Nobody should have to pay to live, but they've ingrained that into our psyche so deeply that we all believe that we have to pay somebody to live. Well, why is that? But right now they're making it so that yes, we need to pay people to live, but we can't afford to pay people to live. So
when they create fake money.
Yeah, the whole system's fake though, and right now it's all being collapsed so that we believe that we can't pay to live. We can't afford to live. You know, it's all a fake sham, right? If people could understand that, you know, legislation isn't law. Right?
Well, it's secondary law, isn't it? It's not real. Yeah, it's not real law. It's secondary law.
It's not even law. It's not even law. You can't even call it law. It's policy.
It's policy. Yeah, it's law for the legal system, but it's not law for the lawful system.
Right. It's like again, the Tesco's employees handbook. There are rules and regulations in there. Right. But if you don't work for Tesco's, those rules and regulations don't apply to you.
Mm.
But, you know, you can follow them if you like, if you agree to them, you know, even if you don't work for Tesco's, you can agree to them, but they don't apply to you. So all this legislation they put out to try and restrict you and try to say you have to do this and that. No, you don't have to follow it. You're not obliged to follow whatever they say. Right. But people are too cowed. They're too softened by all the benefits, supposed benefits of the system. But we can see that those benefits are being withdrawn.
Yeah, you're right. I think the problem is that we are so far into what they've, created for us that it's now going to take time to come out of that. And I'll give you an example. Just recently, we had a repossession. I'm not sure if you heard about it, but it's really quite disgusting. And I think sometimes things need to happen to really wake people up and really get the story out there, sadly, but it is always at someone's expense. And the story is that this lady who's in her 60s and has got stage 4 ovarian cancer has actually been evicted, repossessed, and evicted from her home over what was initially £200 council tax, even though she's paid all her mortgage off. But she was disputing the council tax. Now, we know the council tax is not a debt, it's a demand. And we know that it doesn't apply to you. No one has the right to tell you to pay for something that you have not agreed. There's no contract, etc., etc. But you see, she, like many others, has been part of the system for so many years and owns things and has a home. And, and then she's got goons turning up at her house, real big bully boys, and actually evicting her. And she's at death's door. And this is what we've got to now. That's when it's really hard for people to try and come out the system, because she's not only fighting for her health, fighting to keep a roof over her head through a system that's been created to keep you enslaved. So we have such a lot of work to do to try and get it through people that it's all fake, but at the same time, how are they going to fight to keep what they've got? Because nobody should be being evicted.
Right. Well, think about how many homeless people there are already in this country. Right? There are more empty houses than there are homeless people in the country. I mean, how does that occurrence happen? You've got more empty houses than homeless people. It's the same mentality as when Tesco's pours bleach over the food in their dumpsters. Yeah, it's like, if we can't sell it, you can't have it, right? So that's a mentality, and it's an anti-human mentality, right? This isn't a human society; it's an anti-human society. And if we have to go to the whole science fiction-y bit, it is run by not quite humans. Who hate humans, who hate humanity.
Yeah.
Right? And this is just one step in their plan to exterminate us. and most of that comes about by weakening us psychologically. And this is what this is doing. It is weakening us psychologically. I'm tripping over my words here. Weakening us psychologically, right? By making us feel that we're not good enough. We can't afford to live. We're failing somehow, right? But we're not failing. The system was designed to fall apart. It's designed so that we can't afford to continue in it, right? So most people are still believing that, or they're still in fear about even admitting to anybody else that they're in trouble. But everyone's going to be in trouble, no matter what situation you're in, right? They're coming for you too, because that's the way the system's designed. It's always been designed to fail every 20 years. For the financial system, it's about every 20 years. It's designed to collapse and then restart again. But when it collapsed in 2008, they never restarted it. They just kept pouring more money into it, right? So that it, they can crash it at whatever time they want to crash it. So no, nobody's failing. It's the system that is essentially trying to drive you into suicide.
Well, the point is as well. Sorry, I think we're having a slight delay here as well. The point is as well that I mean, I'm not religious, but it we rightly so should all have an equal benefit of the earth and its fruits. But if we are deprived of doing so, and I believe there is a maxim in law that if you deprive someone from making a living, then you are responsible for them. And so what they've done is they've deprived all of us of everything, of the fruits of the earth, the dominion over the earth and the land and everything. They've boxed us in small houses and small gardens, small flats where you can't self-sustain. So therefore, and then they've sold everything to us instead of actually people realizing that they now owe us for depriving us of that land and of the fruits of the earth. They're charging us for it. And this is the crazy part of it. So in actual fact, they owe us everything.
Yeah. But this country used to be self-sufficient, like every country. It was, it used to be self-sufficient. But through their policies, right, because they've come in and this is across the board. They've come in and they've said things like, oh, we will look after your food security. We're working for you. We'll look after your food. We'll make sure your food's safe, and we'll do this and that. And we all bought into that. But the whole system has been a big bait and switch operation. Yeah. So
absolutely.
We got baited in by the good idea of it, but without us realizing, they've switched it, so they're poisoning us now, right? And they've also made it that we are interdependent on all other countries for our food, whereas we used to be able to feed ourselves. So you go out into the countryside, right? What you'll see amongst some of the green fields is that sickly yellow stuff growing in most of the fields. It's rapeseed oil, which is poisonous. It's poisonous.
Absolutely. And it's in everything.
Oil in America. Yeah, it's in everything, but they call it canola oil in America, but it is poisonous, right? They could be growing all sorts of things in these in all those fields, but no, they're growing this stuff, right, which eventually will end up poisoning us. So no, we've got to step back and realize, no, these governments are designed to murder us.
Absolutely.
There's no other way of saying it. So it's up to us to step back, step away from these governments, disregard whatever they say, and do our own thing. And the reason I'm talking about the leader is that the difficulty we have is organizing ourselves. It's like, we're all over the place. If we had somebody to just organize, and then we all get right behind, that organization, then we can all act together. An example I give is with council tax. If I, as leader, said, you know what, I think we should abolish council tax. I'm going to declare council tax abolished. So you can do what you like, but I'm suggesting, right, that everybody stop paying council tax. If you get a demand from somebody, you can write a letter that just says, right, just a few words, the people have spoken, council tax is abolished, and send that to them, right? Now, if 90% of the country did that, well, then council tax is abolished because the people say no, right? It's not me, being a dictator and saying, you must stop paying. No, it's literally organizing the people so that we can just disregard this system and then put our own system together. I don't know if that makes sense.
It does make sense. But again, the problem we've got is that we're going to end up, because the system is so corrupt, that we're going to end up with people like that lady on Monday getting evicted because of the council tax, because she challenged it. But you're right, we need numbers. We need more people saying exactly like you. We the people have spoken, and we the people agree in unity that we do not need to pay council tax. And let's
Right,
face
but
it, it doesn't fund what they say it funds.
of course it doesn't, and that's the main reason why you shouldn't be paying it, because it is funding, bombing children in Yemen and in Ukraine and Gaza Strip and that. Yeah, we're funding it. It's us. The rest of the world are looking at us and saying, why do they hate the Yemeni people so much?
Yeah,
It's us. So yeah, we have to actually get together, become unified, and all at once say, no, we're not doing it. And if they send their goons to try and evict somebody, well, the community should get together and say, no, it's not happening. Off you go. And I've actually seen a couple of news stories from the 1800s and that say that's how people did act when the police turned up. Right, the community got together and basically beat the police and got them to go away.
Yep.
Right. So no, we have the power. We always have the power. Yeah, the power lies with us. Right. It's just that we've got to remember that we do have the power and start exercising it.
Absolutely. Someone just made a comment and said, fear will be the death of us unless we make a stand. And you're absolutely right. And we do need to make a stand. So, because the other thing is, you've got to ask, we've got to ask who's actually benefiting from what they're putting in place, because it's not the people. So some people, like you say, I'll give you an example. We've got speed cameras, and we've got the van that sits there taking photos of you going 5 miles over the speed limit, and bang, you've got a ticket. And people are going, yeah, but it's there to stop people speeding so that no one gets hurt. Yeah, okay, but who's benefiting? Who's really benefiting? Because
it's never about what they say it is. Again,
exactly.
I'm in a country where there aren't rules, right? There are no speed limits anywhere. There's no signs with numbers on them. No, right? But people don't get hurt. Some people do occasionally, but no more than what happens in England, right? So no, you don't need it. There was a point I was going to make as well. Oh, gone out of my head. Got so many things. Got so many things going on. It's just like, but
it will come back. But yeah, who's benefiting? Because if we're not benefiting the people, then who's going to benefit? Now, so if you were leader, if you, like you say, Dave for leader, if you were leader, what things would you do? What things would you start putting in place?
Well, first thing, I would abolish mortgages and rents, because having somewhere to live, right, is a human right. Birds don't pay for their nests. Squirrels don't rent the burrows from the birds or anything. No, having somewhere to live, having shelter is a human right. Nobody should pay for that. Nobody should pay for the utilities. They're our utilities, right? Nobody should be paying for using the road, right? Because they're our roads. We built them. They were for us. Okay.
Yep.
So if you take away, right, taxes as well, right? We don't need taxes, right? We're being taxed, well, supposedly to fund government, which, that's a whole show right there. Why we shouldn't pay taxes, but it's really going for paying off the national debt. Why have we got a national
which doesn't
debt?
exist?
Yeah,
it's fake again.
It's this idea that we have to borrow money from an international bank. Why are we doing that? Well, as a country, why aren't we issuing our own money debt free? And every time that this country has done that, the country becomes prosperous, because we're not continually in debt and sinking under a mountain of debt. Yeah, because that's how this fraud works. By the debt becomes more than the amount of money that's out there, and it becomes unpayable, and everyone, all the assets are getting, taken away by those who are indebting us. So
Well,
no,
yeah. You think about how many people have got themselves into debt. I mean, we know debt is not real; it's all a fiction anyway. But let's just go with it. You think how many people have got themselves into debt and have never ever been able to get themselves out of it, because once you're in that negative cycle, it's literally an avalanche. You just keep going further and further into debt, and then you've got to take more debt to clear that debt, and then you struggle to live. So it's impossible.
Have you ever heard of sharecropping?
No.
So when the slaves were released in America, okay, they came up with a very clever trick. They said to the slaves, right, you're free. So what we're going to do is, since you're free, we'll go into business with each other. This is the slave owner to the former slave owner. We're going into business with each other. I'm going to give you or rent you farm equipment, seed, and all this, and you go ahead and plant the seed and harvest the cotton or whatever. And at the end of the year, we'll sell all the goods and split the proceeds, and you just pay me back what you owe me. But it was worked out that doesn't matter how much they sell the crop for, they never able to pay off the debt. So the next year they've got to borrow more, not only to cover what they need for this year, but to pay off the debt from last year. Right? So they ended up in perpetual debt. Well, what the system did was they extended sharecropping over the whole world. This is what we're doing. Right? We're still slaves, but we think we're free and working for ourselves. Right? It's sharecropping. Yeah.
Do you think we'll ever be free?
I think we're coming to the point, because this system can't last any longer. Again, I subscribe to the Old Testament, and the Old Testament tells you that, describes this system, describes where we are right now, and says this system will fall. Right? It's gonna end up fighting itself, and it's going to fall. And I'm seeing it happen. If you look at the elite of the elite, they're dying off. They're disappearing. The Queen.
What's going on?
Yeah, the Queen died at least 4 years before they announced it. Philip died a long time before they announced it. I think Charlie Sausage Fingers isn't the real one. I think he's dead. They're showing that Kate woman.
And who is she? That's a whole different picture.
It's a fake Kate woman.
Who are they?
There's a guy playing William, right? And somebody just put a picture up today where William 10 years ago has a straight nose, and this William has this hook nose. People's noses don't change like that.
No.
So that guy isn't William. So I'm saying the elite. I think we just lost another Rothschild. Well, it's so sad, but we lost another Rothschild. So I think the elite are dying off already, right? And this system is being managed by the middle management, who are still trying to keep it going. But every time they ask upstairs for guidance, nothing's coming back. So they're leaderless at the moment, I think, or they haven't got the leadership they once had. And as time goes on, the worse it's going to get, and the wheels are going to fall off of this thing.
Yeah, see, I believe in energy, and energy and people's energy and frequency vibration. I think the more of us are waking up, the more our energy is getting stronger, the weaker their energy is becoming, and it is collapsing. And you're absolutely right. And we have been building our own prisons without even realising for so many years, and it's now time to put the tools down and go, hey, oh, come on, we've built this,
Yeah.
we can do something about it.
Well, years ago, I was saying that, we haven't had to do jobs as such for about 60 years. They could have automated pretty much everything we've been doing 60 years ago. So we've been doing make work, and as you say, building the prison around us, to the point where right now they don't really need us anymore to build the prison, because the prison's here.
Yeah, let me tell you about prisons. Where I live, there's 3 prisons, and one of them is an open prison. Now, when I actually in 2013, I've done a health and social care course, and this is just a fine example of the mentality we have that right now of the people that are struggling with the change. So through this health and social care course, we went to a visit to these prisons. And there was 2 lifers that gave us a chat. They were in death for, I think, both of them murder. And we were talking about the fact that when you're in prison for so long, you literally become, that's your home. It becomes your home. It becomes your everyday reality. And eventually you fit in and you accept it. By the time these people are ready to come out, they go into the open prison so they can be, they go and get jobs locally, and they've got to be back so they can integrate back into society. They don't want to come out. They don't want to come back to the real world. And they're actually begging the security to not let them go. So what they do, and this happens very often, there's a helicopter going around looking for an escaped prisoner, because once they hit the outside prison, the only way they can come back in is to commit a crime. So that way, because they don't want to come out into this world. Are we not doing the same thing? We have been doing this for so long that we don't want to come out of it, but it's time to wake up and snap, break that chain and go, no, we need to create something new.
Yeah, there's along the same lines is a video about a guy who keeps chickens, and he says,
I've seen that.
I'll show you a 15-minute city. And it does the same thing with the chickens. The chickens love their little habitat, and you can leave the door open, they won't leave, because they're so institutionalized, and that's the way they know that we would be if they finally got us into a 15-minute city. They've already got us into these cities, which most people, there are people who never leave their city. Yeah, it's the same thing. Before we used to roam around, and you could pretty much live anywhere you want. Yeah. Did you know before the World War I, there was no such thing as a passport. So you could literally, jump on a boat to France and find somewhere to live, and and build yourself a little house, and there was nothing to stop you doing that. Right? We've just been put into smaller and smaller and smaller cages, and we've got used to the small cage, and now they're trying to put us into an even smaller one. It's time to
computer.
Step back.
Now we're being put into computers.
My research now has been telling me about the powers we have, we naturally have in this world. And when you realize what those powers are, you realize how much they've taken away from us, and how illusory this world is that is around us. Not only in a physical illusion, the illusion of society, because we literally don't need it. We're not dependent on anybody to survive. The fear that's generated about how are we going to survive, it is a total illusion. Right? If you found yourself on a desert island with a whole bunch of people, right, and you would find a way to survive. because it's there for you. The world is here to help you survive. That's what it's here for, right? And
Absolutely.
you know, so everything, this whole idea of scarcity, you know, it's an illusion. The whole thing is an illusion. So if people would just step back and look at this world, look at your life, and realize that, well, here's one thing: realize that you're going to die. You're going to die at some point, right? You can't stop it. You can't do anything about it. You don't know when it's going to happen, right? Well, yeah, some people. I'm not going to go there. We're going to talk about jabbed people now.
Yeah. Oh my God, don't.
But the point is, right, you've got no control over it, right? So there's the fear of death should be off the table. And the worst thing that's, you know, to happen to you is to end. So if you take the fear of death off the table, then you're free to take risks, to live without fear. And that if we somehow manage to get people to live without fear, this will be a totally different country.
Absolutely. It would.
But,
And we it's very hard, but you're right, we need to drop the fear, and it's not easy because we've been conditioned. Even for myself, you know, I'm learning to drop the fear. I'm learning to not have that fear, and I'm, you know, there are times when I literally talk to myself. I'm really good at that. I even answer myself. That's the best part of it. And, you know, I'm like, you know, don't think these thoughts. This isn't real. You're creating a tomorrow that may never come. And so you just need to deal with today. Drop the fear. Don't think about it. But sometimes it can get very overwhelming because we've been conditioned to think like this for so long that you really do have to slap yourself out of it. But, you know, but you're still fearing losing your property. I mean, I've been homeless twice in my life. And so now I've got to the stage where I can't actually attach myself to a home anymore because I've lost 3 houses, homeless twice. And so I always think, well, it's never mine.
Here. And yet
somehow,
you're still here. But it's not somehow. Right?
Yeah, you just think, how did that happen? Yeah.
You are going to survive. You're going to live. You're going to, you know, if you want to. Right? And again, you've got powers, you've got abilities to shape the world around you, right? That you know, most people don't know you've got them, but they're there. And what will happen is those powers will come online, and things will happen so that you'll survive again. You'll be back to, you know, it's the way the world works.
Did you ever watch one of the biggest quotes? I don't know if you ever watched films, but there was, what's his name? It was called After Earth, the film, and it's got Will Smith in it and his son. And he actually, there's this quote, because his son is scared and he's got to go out and try and get, you know, his dad's safety, and he's feeling the fear. And there's an amazing quote that he says, and he basically tells you fear is just an illusion. And I'll have to find that quote. It's amazing. If anyone can put it on here now, maybe we can read it. And this was like years ago when I watched it, and it, you know, some things, because I believe there's more truth in fiction than there is in documentaries.
Yeah.
And so I just found that quote so powerful because it is an illusion.
It is. You know, you want people trying to hang on to stuff because they fear losing it. But you know, we're in this game. This is a game we're playing. Yeah. So, you know, how bad is it if you're playing Monopoly and you lose a house? You know, you keep
I've
playing,
lost 3.
right?
I've lost 3.
But the game is like this. It's up and down, up and down.
Yeah.
So play the game. Don't worry about you know, how the game's going to progress. Play it and enjoy playing. Right?
Yeah.
I'm going on to speak with Mark Devlin in a couple of days, actually, because he's going through a bit of a low patch because, you know,
he said,
too heavy.
yeah, we were meant to do a live together actually Wednesday just gone, and he couldn't do it. And bless him, I have noticed he's feeling a bit. But yeah, oh, that's good that you're doing a live with him,
But
or that you're
the
doing a
point,
talk with him.
yeah, the point is though, this isn't doesn't have to be, a terrible place to be. It's actually a wonderful place. If you want to see it that way, it's a wonderful place. If you want to see it the other way, it's a horrible place. But it's a game, and
I think a lot
if
of people are feeling uncertain, Dave. I mean, it's like I love your outlook, and I think it's brilliant that you are able to master that. But for a lot of people that I've spoken to, especially when you've got children, grandchildren, and families, and you can see what's happening, and you've got bills and everything, it's and these responsibilities, and people just feel they've got nothing to look forward to right now. They feel they can't get themselves out of this state of uncertainty, and they feel there's no stability. So again, it's trying to come out of your normal and accept the abnormal, but not knowing what you can do. They feel very lost.
well, what is normal? Normal is what the system tells you is normal. Yeah,
Mm,
that's it, right? You are unique. You are a unique individual, right? Who can forge your own path, right? You don't have to do what is normal. Being normal is forcing you off your own path into somebody else's path. That
mm.
what the system decides is normal. No, I have it with when somebody comes to, because I live by the sea, so somebody comes to visit, and they'll go, oh, I wish I could live here somewhere. Well, you
But you
can
can.
if you want to. You can just move here. Yeah, yeah. You might think, oh, I've got so many barriers to stop me, but no. If you want to do something, the barriers will disappear because you want to do it, right? But people are locked into this idea that they're stuck in a situation and that situation can't change. Well, it can always change, right? And you don't have to hang on to stuff, because when you leave this place, and as I said, you're going to leave this place. When you leave this place, you're not taking that stuff with you. So it's not important. None of that stuff is important, right? What's important is how you play the game, how you enjoy playing the game, right? The system is trying to make it so your life is uncomfortable, difficult, so that just like they're trying to take away our cars from us, right? They're not going
Mm,
to take away our cars. They want to make it so uncomfortable to have a car so that it seems like it's our idea to get rid of cars. Right?
mm,
So
absolutely.
they essentially want you to die. They want to get rid of you. Yeah. So
Mm,
they're not going to come around and kill you, but they're going to make it very, very difficult for you to live, whether it's by
mm,
putting poison in everything or just making it incredibly difficult for you to live, so that taking your life or ending your life is your idea. You
mm,
know, it's
mm.
it's the same thing, but you don't have to live in their box. You can actually go, you know what? I'm going to do things my way now. Now, you just said about people who've got bills and all that. Well, I've got a group on Telegram where helping people with council tax and bills and all that. There are people on there who haven't paid utility bills for like 10 years, you know. But there are also people out there who are going, oh, I know I can't pay the bill. I'm going to have to pay it somehow. And I don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
So, which stress would you like? You know, do you
Pick
want the
one.
stress of worrying how you're going to pay things, or just go, you know what?
Mm,
I ain't going to bother with this. I ain't going to bother. I ain't
yeah.
going to pay this. Right? Whatever they want to do to me, come and bring it on. Yeah.
Mm,
I'd rather play
yeah.
it that way. I'd rather play it that
Mm,
way than worry about stuff. As I said, there's nothing to worry about in this life. You're gonna die at some point. So play the game. right? And don't worry about
Um,
losing stuff. Sorry.
yeah. No, someone's just said money is needed to sustain life. You actually have in law the right to create money, and we're not being told this. And the reason we've got this right to create money is because they've taken everything away from us, so they owe us, and that's in the bills of exchange. And you can use promissory notes, you can create your own money, you can discharge debt, but this is stuff they do not want you to know, so that you live in fear and you think, how am I going to pay everything? Right.
The
Let
need
me
for
just,
money is very artificial anyway. The need for money is
yeah.
totally artificial. You don't need money to live. Right? And my example is you know, I stopped working and working in the system over 10 years ago, and I decided to help people for free and figure out
Mm,
how that was going to work. And in that 10 years, I've literally been all over the world. And you know,
mm,
I'm still here. I survived somehow, yeah, without working in this system. Right? Anybody can do that. Anybody, everybody should be able to do that if they want to. Right?
mm.
This idea that you need money, you need this, you need that. No, it's an illusion. Right? It might seem very difficult when you start, but once you get into it, you find that again, barriers move out the way for you.
Well, imagine the power they've had making themselves the makers of money. I mean, think about that. You know,
Yeah,
they've made themselves the makers of money so that they can control the money, you control the people. Let me go back to governments. I mean, when you think about a government, right? The government is actually meant to be there for the business, not for you. But we are now the business. So and I've said this before, and I've learned this from a few amazing people. When they talk about it's in the public interest, you being the public are the business. The public is the business. So if it's in the public interest to depopulate, that's why it's done. It's not in the man and woman's interest, it's in the business, which is the government. Now, the wages of an MP are only really, what, 80,000, 84,000 pounds a year, but look at the lifestyle they've got. How is that right? I mean, they've got houses that are worth a fortune. You know, they live in way beyond that 84,000 because they've got these loopholes where they can take donations. They can, expenses, and I don't even know what else they've got. That is not right. They are not there for you. So again, MPs and governments are not for us. If we saw the UK without governments, what do you think would happen? What would be in place? Some people call it anarchy. What would be in place for the people?
what would be in place are small communities doing for themselves. And you know, if something needs to be done, you know, like a road needs repairing, like there's a lot of roads that need
Yeah,
repairing right now, right? Then the people
yeah,
get together and repair it. Right?
yeah,
At the moment, this is a two-pronged difficulty there, because yeah, the government are supposed to be repairing it for us, right? But on the other side, there's all these people on the other side sitting there going, well, why isn't the
yeah.
government repairing it? It should be repaired, blah blah blah, moaning about it rather than doing it themselves, right?
Mm,
If the community got together, right, we shouldn't even really even be talking about this, right? If I go back to this idea of 1,000-man island, if you, me, and 998 people ended up stranded on a desert island, right, we would find a way to live. Yeah, what would
mm,
naturally happen is that you would find your strength and play to that. I'd find what I'm really good at doing, and I'd do that, and we'd all contribute to the, you know, our skills to the island, as it were, and we'd all help each other to survive. Right? What the difficulty comes is when you get a psychopathic element who doesn't
mm,
want to help everybody else, who despises everybody else, and they introduce money so that everybody works for them. And
mm.
you know,
Absolutely.
They don't have to work, right? But what we've got in this country right now and in this world is a psychopathic element who not only doesn't want to work, but what they want to do is exterminate the population. And so they're using us to work towards that end, right, without us knowing. But the point is, we don't need this. We don't even need this idea of work, right? So one of the ideas I have about education, for example, is that we get rid of the school teacher student model and have these centers of access. So a place where you can go and have access to the sum total of human experience, right? So everything that you can possibly think of doing, you can go there and learn it and see what it is, see what it's about. So a child, or not a child, but anybody of any age could just walk into this place and go, what do I want to learn how to do, or I'd like to do? And they can explore themselves. So imagine a child going to one of these places, and let's say they like the idea of woodwork. So they go to the woodworking area, and what they'll find there is a whole group of people who are also into woodwork. And that group of people will end up teaching each other, right? And so there's no need for a teacher. There's no need for you know, this whole curriculum thing. Somebody goes into this place and finds what it is they love to do, right? And once they've learned what they everything they need to learn, they'd then be encouraged to do that, not as a job, but do that because that's what they love doing. And the only stipulation I would introduce at the beginning is 10% of what you produce, you give to the poor, those who can't afford it. But the idea is, once you get rid of paying for mortgages and rents, paying for utilities, paying taxes and stuff, the dependence on money will start to wane. Okay, so if you're working, or not even working, you're doing what it is you love doing, you don't need to be paid for it. You'd do it for the love of it. Okay, so money will eventually just fade away because nobody needs it.
When I lived in Sicily, I lived in the mountains with my grandparents, and the house was probably 150 years old because it was a house that was passed down through generation. You know, it was a family home, and it's where you lived, and there was lots of land, so you could expand if you wanted to keep the family there, you know. And so there was always that safety element. No one was going to take your house away from you. You didn't, at the time, there was no taxes because it was your land. You didn't have inheritance tax because it was yours. And this is the thing, isn't it? People, they didn't fear. Back then, people didn't actually fear losing their homes.
No. Over here, okay, my favorite little beach, there's a little private beach, nice little cove, and beautiful little beach. There's a guy just used to go there to swim every morning. He decided to build himself a little shack, little house on top of the hill, right, just overlooking the beach, and that's where he lives now. He just built this place and he lives there. Nobody bothers him. Nobody's coming over and saying, you can't do that. You can't live there. Right? Why is it different in the UK? Well, we know why. It's because the Crown says they own everything. Well, who said that they own everything? You know, who gave them the right to say, I own this land? No, the land is for the people to use. Right? And that's it. Simple as that. But again, we've been embroiled in all these systems to tell us that, no, you have to do as you're told. These people are more important than you. So you can't live the way you want to live. You have to live the way they say you have to live. No, it doesn't make sense to me.
So can we sack government?
Yes, I think we can. And I think we do that by turning away from them right, and setting something up for ourselves. Okay. I believe it was a place in Michigan who essentially sacked their council. And what they did was they changed the locks on the council buildings. And so they're
Excellent.
out, and they sort of selected people from the community to act in that role. And now that's it. The council was sacked. They're gone. Right? Well, why don't we do the same? Because
I have a
councils aren't
feeling the
working for
guys.
us.
I have a feeling the guys in Thetford, wonderful group of guys in Thetford, are probably very close to doing that, because they're making headways with making the council walk out. So if the council walks out, they can take over, which they have done. So it's possible.
Has to happen, because you know, this idea that we can have our say, well, that's all that happens. We talk, we go there, we talk, they don't listen, they ignore, right? But because we've said something, now somehow that's done something. No, we have to actually take action. And yeah, it only takes one occasion for that to happen. So yeah, Thetford, it does happen in Thetford. That will be the dam breaking. And you know, I should imagine there are places that are going to follow suit almost immediately.
I think we are on the brink. I think there's things coming out now that are on the brink of huge change. I just want to mention we have this inbuilt moral compass that sometimes it takes a devastation, a story that's so bad to get to trigger that. And I know I'm going to mention 9/11. Now, I know that obviously the 9/11 wasn't the story we were told, but what happened when it all kicked off and whatever is when the damage was done and people were hurt, was how the people came together. You know, what they call the useless eaters, how they all came together of different levels, you know, and everybody didn't look at anyone as to, oh, you're higher than me or you're upper class than me. They all came together and helped each other. And I think that's where the importance of us lies, is the coming together and actually helping each other.
The spirit of the Blitz, really, wasn't it? You know, so interestingly, just talking about the Blitz, did you know that was the healthiest the country has ever been during the Blitz, during rationing? Because
Yeah.
they weren't eating as much food.
Yeah.
The less food you eat, the healthier you are. But you know, that's
absolutely. In fact, I had a lady message me, funny enough, when we had the fear of the food shortages, and she was a much older lady who'd lived through the rationing, and she said, don't fear it. We were rationed and we were fine. We got through it. We were healthy. And she was in her, I think, 80s, and she actually messaged me on Facebook and told me, you know, it's going to be fine. Don't ever fear that.
Yeah. But you know, the thing about the food shortages is we're already in a food shortage. We've been in a food shortage for over a decade, because what's in the supermarket isn't food. It's, you know, it's poisonous stuff. And when I left the country in November, and when I got here, I was in a bad way. I found it difficult to breathe, and you know, I was overweight and stuff like that. 3 months in this country, we're eating good food. I'm back. Right? Now I'm going to come back to England, and well, I'm going to try my best not to eat while I'm there. Try
yeah,
not
I can
to eat
imagine.
for 6 months. But it's the food is poisonous, the air is poisonous, water's poisonous. Right? I'm surprised anyone's surviving there in the first place. Right? But we just have to do our best, the best we can, to you know, survive this. Right? You don't have to worry. I know I said about poisonous food and everything, but don't worry. Right? If you limit the amount of food you're eating, right, your body can actually get rid of these poisons. You know, it's only because we, you know, we're totally, you know, we continually put poisons in ourselves that our body is overwhelmed. But I don't want to talk about the therapy that I talk about, but
Oh, yeah, yeah. Is it helping you?
absolutely.
Do you
Any,
eat anything, you know, before you drink it? Do you eat a certain, you know?
no, literally, what it does is, because it's a feedback loop. Right? If you eat something your body doesn't like, you know it, you taste it, and yeah. But that aside, yeah, I'm trying to
Yeah,
say that
yeah,
you don't need to worry about food shortages. Right? You've always got enough food, water, and medicine with you at all times,
yeah,
and
yeah.
so you know you don't have to you know, steal or eat your children or whatever. Whatever.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, you can survive, and not only survive, thrive. Right.
yeah,
As I said, three months, and I got rid of all the poisoning and stuff that I'd taken in for the last 6 months. So
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
And fasting, yeah, someone said, yeah, intermittent fasting is very good for you. And I feel so much better myself when I'm doing the fasting as well. Kate, do we have any questions before we finish? So yeah, if you were a leader, you would just bring back communities, which is something we've been saying, work locally, more freedom of movement, and we would take back the control, because you're right, we would all fall into a sort of place that we all know and work to our strengths. Yeah.
Yeah, and we can actually replace all the technologies that are plaguing us, because all the technologies have been twisted into weapons against us, right? So, you know, there's no reason why, for instance, we have a cell phone network that uses a frequency that harms us, right? And also a telephone system that has to go through a central, you know, a central hub before it gets to the person you're speaking to. Right. So
Yeah.
obviously they want that so they can spy on us. Right. But
Mm, mm,
because we are the ones creating all this technology, we can actually say, you know, let's scrap this. Let's do something different. Let's do something that doesn't harm anybody. And literally, you know, you can't spy on it. You can just use it. Right.
mm.
So yeah, we can
Yep.
remake this country into somewhere that's worth living. In my video, I talk about, I think it's 18 people a day commit suicide, because it tells you that this place is difficult to live in. It's hard to live in, and people just don't want to live here, and they check out. Right? That's an indictment of this system. You know, we can do better. We can have a garden paradise that you want to live in. You want to live and
Mm.
play in this paradise, and it can be a paradise. Imagine fruit trees growing everywhere, literally food
Mm.
everywhere.
Mm. Yep.
But it
And
doesn't
that's
belong to
right.
anyone.
Why don't they? I've said this already. Why, instead of having shrubs or whatever, where have all the apple trees, pear trees, orange trees, lemon trees? Why aren't we planting these near schools, where children can just come out of school, walk home and pick an apple, pick an orange, whatever? Why haven't we got these there?
If you go to Turkey, right, and you walk down the street, right, well, there's grapefruits on the tree on the street, or
Yeah,
oranges or pomegranates or whatever. They're there.
yeah,
What? And it used to be the same in England at one point. I remember very, you know, dimly back in the past, there were cherry trees on the side of the road and apple trees. We had in our back garden, we had an apple tree, a pear tree, and a peach tree. Yeah.
mm,
There were blackberries growing wild and black currants, and they're all over the place. But very
yeah,
slowly they got rid of all that for ornamental trees. And yeah, no,
yeah,
we
useless.
can we can turn this place back into a garden. And that would be the main goal of society, is to turn the country back into a garden. Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen a film called The Green Beautiful?
No.
It's just if you can get to watch it, it's a silly film, but the feeling of the place that they live in, it's like it's just joyous. It's just wonderful. It's just like green fields and groups of people coming together and saying, "Oh, I've got all these apples here. Anybody want them?" And
Yeah.
it's how the world should be. And that's one of the models that I'd like to model the country on The Green Beautiful.
I like that. Absolutely. Yeah, I miss, I miss the sun. I mean, I'm sure more than any, I mean, some people don't need as much sun as other people. I need a lot of sun. My skin needs more sun. I'm Italian, I'm Sicilian. So my skin needs more sun. And actually, the darker you are, the more sun you actually need, because it takes longer for you to absorb the vitamin D. And there's this theory. I just need to bring this up. My partner, when we first met, he had skin cancer, and he's very sensitive to the sun, and so he had to have this skin cancer removed. And everyone was saying to him, "You need to wear." I'm saying that the people that aren't aware, you need to wear the factor 50 because he's got very sensitive skin. Stay out the sun. This, that, and the other. And I said, no, you need to do the opposite. You need to stop wearing sunglasses, stop wearing factor anything, and you need to slowly build your skin. And for the last 2 years, because of moi always wanting to be by the sea, he's actually got a tan and he's been absolutely fine. Friend of mine who's knows a family member who doesn't go out, smothers herself with factor 50, has had skin cancer come back 3 times. Now, that's something that, you guys really need to think about. Be safe, but we need the sun, because if skin cancer really was a thing that was caused by the sun, all the Italians, all the Mexican, all the West Indians, all the people where you are, the Caribbean, they'd all be suffering, wouldn't they? It's got nothing to do with that. We need the sun. And this is what I miss in this country. But during lockdown, we had sun.
I don't know if you've been on a plane recently.
No.
But what happens when you after you take off, you literally you're going through, and it feels like normal daylight. But as soon as you go through that layer of haze, as soon as you go through that, you see bright sunshine, and you look down and you realize how dim it is down on the ground.
Yep.
Right? Because there's that milky white layer that most people don't notice. It's that milky white layer that is literally blocking most of the sun. So yeah, you say you're missing the sun, even when it's sunny, you're still missing the sun.
Absolutely. We've had a very hazy few days here where the sun is there, but you can actually stare at it at midday because there's a haze. And that's not right. That's absolutely not right. But like I said, during lockdown, we had one of the most beautiful summers. I'm not sure if you remember. Were you here? Were you in this country during lockdown?
Oh, yeah, I was. And they must have been laughing their asses off.
Yeah.
Right? Everybody in a beautiful hot summer's days, everyone was locked in their houses.
No, not me. I was at the paddleboarding lake, enjoying every minute of it. So yeah, we definitely do need to be doing something about that as well. But I absolutely, absolutely missed. And this is the problem with the UK. We've had some really bad, and I know that they're manipulating the weather. Of course they are. Are they doing it where you are?
Not as much. Every now and again, we'll see a chemtrail, and it was a month or so ago. They must have switched on a 5G tower or something, because you know, you saw those ripples in the sky where the radio frequency.
Yes.
Yeah, so
Yes.
I saw those, but generally, no. We've actually got proper blue skies.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Envious. Thank you so much, Dave. Is there any questions? Any questions? I love flying, but at the moment, many people report how ill they get when they're flying because of the recycled air, isn't it?
Well, they've been doing that for years, though. As soon as they stopped smoking on flights, that's when they started recycling the air. But yeah, I think it's also, I don't know if it happens on every flight, but they go around through the cabin spraying stuff, and I was asking, what the hell are you spraying? And they wouldn't tell me.
No way.
Have you come across that? They walk through the cabin spraying something.
The last time I flew was I think about 2002, I believe. And then I decided I wasn't going to fly again, so to see my family anyway in Sicily. So I drove there twice from England to Sicily, and because I just had such bad experiences with flying. Oh, I love flying, but the actual it does my head in, and so now that's another reason why I haven't got the desire to travel, because there's so many restrictions. It takes so long, and you can only bring this much luggage, and you've got to pay for this and this. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to get in the car, take what I want, and go when I want, how I want, and that's. But I can't. I wouldn't be able to.
Remember what I was saying about they want to get rid of your car, but they want it to be your idea to get rid of the cars. They're doing the same with air travel. They're making it as difficult and uncomfortable as possible so that you decide, oh, there's no point in flying anymore. So then they can get rid of the airlines and stuff. There you go. But one of the things that is a bit sort of worrying is that pilots are dropping kind of like flies. But, you know, for me, I've got the fantasy of the stewardess coming in and saying, can anyone fly a plane?
I love it. That's brilliant.
I've flown a Cessna.
Excellent.
Put my cape on, and I'm ready.
But yeah, so remember when a British passport was a ticket to the world, and the fuel in the wings. Yeah, someone's saying. Yeah. So, well, when are you back?
I'm actually back in just under 2 weeks, but I'm only for a few days, and I'm off to Hong Kong for a week, and then I'm back.
Oh, wow! And have you got any more talks?
Yeah, I'm actually the first talk will be the one in Hong Kong, and then I've got several lined up for April. Well, for the next 3 or 4 months, but probably not as big a tour as last year. I think I nearly killed myself.
You were everywhere, weren't you? Yeah, you were absolutely everywhere. Yeah. Okay, thank you so much, Dave. Really, really enjoyed talking to you. I've got no questions. There's people just saying spot on, Dave, and research Operation Skyfold. Thank you, guys. Apparently it's to kill the bugs traveling. What bugs? Up in the air?
Yeah, what bugs? Yeah.
No.
What bugs from England? There are no bugs in England now. I don't know. I know you want to wrap it up, but very quickly.
No.
When the sun goes down here, right, the whole of the bush just goes crazy. You hear all the crickets and all the insects and all the birds and all this, right? In England, when the sun goes down, you can hear a pin drop for a mile. There's nothing.
Yeah, nothing.
And I remember we used to go out when I was a child. We used to go out for a drive on a Sunday, and my dad would have to stop every now and again to wipe the windscreen full of from all the bugs.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
None now. Right. So no, there are no bugs in the UK. You know, I don't remember getting mosquito bites anymore in England. Doesn't happen anymore.
You know why, don't you? Because they're in our food. They've put them all in our food.
The
In the
bugs, yeah.
cereals, yeah, you're going to eat bugs. That's why, because they've put in the cereals, and I don't even know where else. I don't want to know. Someone just said, I want to big it up for Alan McClement. Yes, he was absolutely brilliant. If you haven't seen that live, done a live with Alan about the universal credit behind the scenes. That was really good.
I do have to. I heard his little talk, and I used to work for the DHSS when it was called that for a while, like a filler job. So I was working for DHSS, and this is when income support came in. Okay.
Yeah.
And we were told not to tell anybody that they're going to lose out, even though what was happening was they brought in income support at a level, and they paid this supplementary payment to bring it up to the level that everyone was getting, right? And then over the course of the next year or so, they were going to chip away at that supplementary payment, so then it would go down, right? But nobody would know about it. And so they made us lie to people. Yeah, people phone up and say, well, they're transferring me to this income support. Am I going to lose out? And we were told to say, no, you're not going to lose out, right? Even though we knew that that's what was happening. So that's why I left, because I couldn't lie to people anymore. Yeah, and it's always been happening. It's always been happening. And it's always been about this. They call them the stats. It's all about the stats. Yeah, how much are we saving? How much how much are we not paying? That sort of thing. So it's always been about whittling away the money that really we're all paying to help people with.
And you know, I think people, if you are in a job that you're noticing changes, it might be a good idea to get some evidence and keep it. You never know when you're going to need it. That's what I would do if I was there. I'd be gaining some evidence to keep, and proof. You never know when you're going to need it. No more tax credits.
That was before the internet. So what can you do?
Yeah. What do you think of the farmers movement we've got going on?
I think it's a good thing in one way, but there's something worries me a little
Niggle
feeling.
Yeah, I'm with you.
This has been controlled, and it's part
somewhere
of the food
shortage
crisis thing. Yeah. There's something back in my mind is going. My spidey sense is going.
Absolutely,
not right. Yeah. So
do you? Because I feel like that, and then I think, is it because I'm just a conspiracy theorist? Have I become really cynical about everything? But no, I agree. I feel there's something quite not right.
I feel I have to say I want to support them, but at the same time, my spidey sense
keep an eye out. Yeah, absolutely. I think that didn't the farmers spray pesticides? Yeah, they sprayed a lot of things, didn't they? That's it, really. I'm going to wrap it up.
They've been taking the money for a long time. Yeah, they were paid not to farm. They've been paid, to implement all these, antibiotics to all the farmer and all this stuff. They're going along with it for the money. Yeah, but
absolutely.
Now the money's
it will come back and bite them.
Yeah,
it will come back and bite them.
They're not happy, But what can you do? You have to see how this plays out.
Like everything, but again, let's not wait for anyone. We need to build our own thing, like you say, and we don't need governments. We need to grow up.
And remember, this is a game. This is a game, right? Treat it as such and play well. If you know how the game's being played, right? If you're listening to this, right, you know what's really going on. Okay, so having that knowledge, it means you can play this game without fear, right? The advantage is because you know what's going on, you don't have to react to things, right? Because you know what's behind it, so you can act. There's a world of difference between acting and reacting. Yeah, the
Yeah.
muggles react because they don't know what's going on. It's like, oh, this has happened. Oh, oh. Yeah.
Yeah.
But we know, we already know what's going on, so we don't have to react. So play the game. It's a brilliant game. Yeah. You get to be a freedom fighter in this game. It's brilliant.
What
So
about,
play well.
do you think really about the game? I mean, I know I could carry on talking to you for ages, but when you talk about play the game, do you really believe that there are characters in this world because that are just there, what they called NPCs?
Yes. I talk about it. These NPCs, I believe, are real because, okay,
Because
you
they're
know about
thick as
well, you know about the orphan children and the incubator babies. Do you know about
yes,
that? Right. So
yes,
they came from nowhere, right? These babies in incubators, hundreds of thousands of them. It just so happens that cloning was invented at the same time. So I believe they cloned a whole load of people, right? Now, when humans make people in that way, yes, they can make the bodies, but what if they don't make the soul, the soul that is
Ooh.
driving them? So these clones have a spirit that allows them to walk around and do stuff, but they don't
But
have
they're not
that.
quite there.
They don't have that character playing the role. They don't have that I-ness. Yeah. So I found
Yeah,
out a while back that there are people who don't have an inner monologue. They don't have that inner voice that you can have a chat with in your head. Yeah. So
yeah,
if you were explaining something to me, in my head, I'd be going, that's interesting. Oh, I wonder if that matches up to that video I watched last week. Oh, I got to remember to ask her this. And I'd have that conversation where I'd be analyzing what you're saying to me in real time. Right.
yeah.
But if I didn't have that inner monologue, how would I do that? I wouldn't be able to do that. So imagine these cloned beings who get programmed in their first 6 years of life. That's why they went from incubator babies to orphans on the street, because in that 6 years, 6 or 7 years,
Yes.
they were programmed. Yeah. And so you're programmed to obey authority, which is what school is all about. And then you're set out in the world, right? So now you can't analyze any new information. All you've got is the obey authority program running. So that's why you've got these muggles out there who cannot not do anything except obey authority. And you can tell them till you're blue in the face, look, if you take this thing, you're going to die.
And they're just
Here are the
not.
figures. Here are the people testimonies and everything. And it just goes, yeah.
That's
Doesn't go
really
in.
interesting.
That's my theory anyway.
That is a really interesting theory. It does make you wonder because you do feel like you're talking to a brick wall and you're standing there going, but how can you not see it? How can you not question it? How can you not even look up? And when you try to explain them, they're like, oh,
The
right. And
government
they're
said
just
they're
not.
pretty lines. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I absolutely like that. Very, very true. That's a good theory. Yeah, brilliant. Thank you. There was something else I was going to say, but it's gone. So if we've got these incubator babies that have started, the generation, how far back do you think we go? Because like we were talking about this last night. So I know that there was my mum and there was my grandmother and there was my great grandmother or that family. So I know that there's a few generations that did exist. How far back do you think we actually go? Because I don't believe we go back 6 million years.
No.
Of this, yeah. So where would you say and how would you say we actually started? Because let's face it, we weren't here before. When you look at what the buildings we've got, we didn't build them. So that wasn't something that we done.
Right. I believe that this current civilization is just about 6,000 years old.
Okay.
Before this civilization, there were other civilizations, right? But
Yeah.
they were totally wiped out. Nobody
Mm-hmm.
survives from those civilizations. And this is what's written in the Old Testament. The Old Testament is all about this period of 6,000 to 7,000 years, right? It mentions the previous civilizations, but doesn't go into it because they're not important anymore, right? Because the first line of the Old Testament is, "In the beginning, the Most High created the heavens and the earth," full stop, right? The next line, I believe, should be translated, "But the earth had become ruinous and empty." So between these first and second verses, there's any amount of time, and all these things happened, but the earth became ruinous and empty, and then the period of the Bible starts, right?
Right. Okay.
So there, as you said, there were previous civilizations, and we can see these buildings that, you know, we didn't build, right? And it's the same architecture everywhere around the earth, right?
Yep.
And yeah, this goes into the greater Earth idea that I have about the flat Earth, where have you seen the Prague astronomical clock?
Yes. Yes.
So that clock, if you have a look at it, you'll see that is the model of the greater Earth. So you've got a really
Right.
large
Yes.
clock face, a
Yeah.
large clock face, right? And connected to the center of that clock face is a circular area. So there's a circle,
Yeah.
and it's got the zodiac signs on it, right? But that circle is connected to the center of the clock face, kind of off center. So that circle is what's going to go round the clock face. Yeah. So what I'm saying is our Earth is in the middle of that circle, right? It's where the sun and moon go round and melt out a puddle in the ice, right? But that circle is moving very slowly around the greater Earth. So a different puddle is being melted out. Yeah. So continents start going under the ice, and new continents start emerging from under the ice. Yeah.
Yeah.
And when these new continents appear, well, people move on there and realize, oh, there's a city here already. Let's move in. Well, first they have to excavate it because, well, all that ice melts, the water's got to go somewhere. So it stirs up all the silt. And then when the water drains away, the silt settles at a different level. And so now you have a semi-submerged city, and they excavate it and go, oh, look, a whole city. And so that's why they found cities, not build them. They founded them.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's so interesting. Hopefully we can come back and do another one. Thank you, Dave. I'm going to end it here. Thank you everyone for joining us, and hopefully we can see you whatever talks you're doing. You'll have your own dates if you're doing anything when you come back.
I'll stick them on my website.
Excellent. And you've got your channel, Dave Murphy.
D Murphy 25.
D Murphy 25. That's right. So if anyone wants to follow you, thank you so much. I've really enjoyed talking to you. I hope you guys have. Please share this video.
Likewise, it's brilliant talking to you always.
Okay, bear with me. Don't disappear. Much love to you guys. See you again very soon. Bye for now.